if we had a tight labor market, we'd be seeing real increases in wages. Yeah. I hear that your team is planning on advocating more foreign workers coming in for some of these high-tech companies. So I'm very concerned about that, as are a lot of your supporters.
And so is Mark Levin a little bit.
Yeah, we're concerned because Americans, you ran on America
Lou Dobbs is concerned too.
We need high-skilled workers in this country.
Yes.
We need to recruit the best and brightest from the world.
I agree.
Can you please promise us you will give us more ability to import the best and brightest around the world to America?
I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise.
But for Google, why reward Google? Google's working against you in this
I don't want to reward Google. I'm not a fan.
All they want is low-skilled workers,
Well, I'm not a fan of Google, but I'm a fan of great companies, okay?
You didn't run on bringing more foreign workers into the United States.
It's not foreign workers. We have to allow...
So that gets us to the immigration issue. If poverty is increasing and if wages are going down, I don't know why we need millions of people to be coming into this country as guest workers who will work for lower wages than American workers and drive wages down even lower than they are right now.
And as we know, the principal industry.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. Today, we're going to talk about and watch this clip of Trump on the All In podcast, which is a podcast run by tech bros and venture capitalists, in which Trump said that he's open to giving every non-citizen college graduate, even of a small college, a green card to be an American citizen. And they also said they flipped him on H1-B visas, and it sparked a controversy among his base and among many people. Some people don't care. Other people are saying that Trump is turning his back on America first again. I have a lot of clips, including old clips of Bernie Sanders, clips of Trump talking to Laura Ingram in 2019 and 2020. And I think you're going to want to stay tuned because I think I have a really good presentation to show you how the Overton window shifts so far in American politics that Trump ends up being less America first than Bernie Sanders was 15 years ago. And now the new norm is so much further left and not America first. People don't even realize it. So God bless you guys. Give me a thumbs up in the chat for the algorithm and on the video. Dreamer podcast starts now. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your consideration and attention. It's going to be a good show.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're enjoying your summer, and let's get right into it real quick because I got a lot of clips to play, and I want you really to pay attention and hopefully consider what I'm saying, because this is the hidden hand of politics that sends Donald Trump further left than Bernie Sanders was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it's really fascinating to me. So I'll show you this real quick before I play my first clip. This is from an AP article. It says, in 2016 in the debate when Trump was running for president, Trump spoke about H1-B visa program, and he said it was very bad and very unfair for U.S. workers. First of all, Trump said, I think I know the H1-B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use it. We shouldn't have it, he said. Second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do. 3 months after taking office, Trump issued Buy American and Hire American executive order. Hold on one second. Let me pull that right back up. 3 months after taking office, Trump issued Buy American and Hire American executive order, which directed cabinet members to suggest reforms to ensure that H-1B visas were awarded to the highest paid and or most skilled applicants to protect American workers. So that's what he ran on, right? He ran on America first. He said H-1B visas are bad. We shouldn't have them. People are exploiting them. Businessmen have to use them, and it's bad for the American worker. Now let's watch this clip of the All In podcast that's going viral on Twitter. Some people are happy. A lot of the tech bros and the venture capitalists are like, haha, we got a populist victory on Trump, who switched his decision on this. Others, people that call themselves America First, I think they would say, Trump is turning his back on his original message. Let's watch the clip and see for ourselves. Let me know what you think in the comments.
We need high-skilled workers in this country.
Yes.
We need to recruit the best and brightest from the world.
I agree.
Can you please promise us you will give us more ability to import the best and brightest around the world to America.
I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. It's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is that you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges, you have to be able to recruit these people and keep the people. It was such a big deal. Somebody graduates at the top of the class. They can't even make a deal with the company because they don't think they're going to be able to stay in the country. That is going to end on day one.
So that's what Trump said in that interview. And I'll show you two sides of the coin because some people are pumped about it. Other people are not. So these are just two random tweets that I found when I was searching for it. The first one is from Jason. I think he's part of the All In podcast. He said, "We pushed Trump hard on H1-B visas and he's on board." So the venture capitalists are pumped that Trump is on the same side as them on the H1-B visa topic. This is from Dick Masterson. He said, "Fuck Trump and all those venture capitalist con artists. They want unlimited H1-B visas to drive wages down for engineers. And then we all have to deal with the apps and infrastructure that don't work. 2024 Trump is just Romney with better hair." Somebody said that in the comment section too. They said, listen to Romney, listen to Biden. They said they all sound like Trump on H1-B visas. Here's a clip. I chopped it into two. Hopefully I don't get copyright stricken. I actually, if you have followed me since 2019 and 2020, some of you have, some of you haven't. If you have, thank you. I appreciate you for still being here 4 years later. If you haven't, I actually shared this clip in early 2020 before the pandemic to show you how Trump had already flopped on H1-B visas. It was like one of my journalistic breakdowns. And here's this great clip of Laura Ingram doing actual journalism, telling Trump in 2019 or 2020, why are you going against what you ran on? And watch this full thing. I'm going to play it in 2.5-minute clips. She does a great job of not backing down, not licking his boots, and standing firm. This is my favorite Laura Ingram journalistic performance I've seen yet. Take a look. You'll enjoy it as well.
You've done a lot. On the economy today, we found out that, still added 146,000 jobs. Unemployment historically low at 3.5%. But we do have a little bit of a stall out on wage growth, which you ran on, and we've seen some, 2.9% last year, 0.1% over last month. But we don't have a tight labor market. If we had a tight labor market, we'd be seeing real increases in wages. Yeah. I hear that your team is planning on advocating more foreign workers coming in for some of these high-tech companies. So I'm very concerned about that, as are a lot of your supporters.
And so is Mark Levin a little bit.
Yeah, we're concerned because Americans, you ran on America
Lou Dobbs is concerned too. But I'll say, Lou, here's the problem. I'm demanding that Japan and all these companies, the countries that have these massive, we have trade deficits like nobody's ever seen before. I say, you got to open up. I call Prime Minister Abe, he's a friend of mine. I say, Shinzo, you got to open up more plants in the United States. And they tell me, we want to do it, we want to do it. They start opening. They can't get labor. We need help. Otherwise, we could just say, don't open up.
If they couldn't get labor, wages would be going up. Wages aren't going up. Not in the high-tech industry. We're seeing a plateauing of wages.
They wanted 3% and it went up 2.9%. In the last 2 years, wages have gone up more than they have in 25 years.
But for Google, why reward Google? Google's working against you in this
I don't want to reward Google. I'm not a fan.
All they want is low-skilled workers,
I'm not a fan of Google. I'm a fan of great companies.
So you notice Laura's pushing back, and keep in mind what I showed you at the beginning of this video with that article. 2016 Trump, he ran against H1-B visas. He essentially said, I know it's a loophole. I know it's a scam. It's bad for the American worker. I do it with my businesses as well. And frankly, I shouldn't be able to because it's not good for the American worker. Once he gets in office, he starts repeating liberal and Democrat talking points of like, oh, it's the high skilled. We just want the best and the brightest. That's the same thing that liberals will say. And listen, I know there's some great people that need a green card and I hope they get one. But in general, it's like liberals will be like, oh, all this unfettered immigration is just so amazing for everybody. And, you're just racist if you disagree. He's not going that far, but he is going so far to say their talking points about, how it's actually good for America. And Laura is pushing back with the traditional conservative standpoint of you're opening the labor market and instead of having a tight labor market, now wages are stagnant because you're allowing other people to come in and undercut the American wage, which I believe economically is completely true personally. But here's the second part of that debate. Thank you, Laura, for actually doing journalism. Good job.
Okay.
You didn't run on bringing more foreign workers into the United States.
It's not foreign workers. We have to allow smart people to stay in our country. You graduate number one in your class at Harvard. You graduate from the Wharton School of Finance.
What
no,
they
it's
want.
not. It's a lot.
But you ran on people training their foreign replacements. That you ran against that. Americans, it's humiliating for an American worker, work for a company for 30 years. Now it's told you got to train your foreign replacement who's going to live in Korea and you're going to pay him 20%.
No, that's different. I would never do that. But we do need workers in our country. And I do want an immigration policy. Nobody's been better on immigration than me. By the way, we won the funding for the wall, and the wall's been built anyway because I was taking it out of the military, everything else. And now it's easier. We need people. I got Foxconn to go into Wisconsin. They have to get people. They spent a fortune. They built the most incredible plant I've ever seen. In Wisconsin, Foxconn, they make all the Apple stuff.
Why shouldn't we have American graduates of colleges and universities taking those jobs?
We do, but we don't have enough of them. We don't have enough of them. And we have to be competitive with the rest of the world, too. The companies want to hire these people. And
they want to hire people they can hire for the cheapest amount because
I'm not talking about cheap. I'm talking about brain power. They want to hire smart people. And those people are thrown out of the country. We can't do that.
Well, you ran on America first.
No, this is America first.
All right. I'm going to keep
excuse me, I just have to finish this. If we tell smart people to get the hell out, that's not what we're saying. That's a bad thing.
There's a never-ending appetite on the part of corporate America to bring in as much cheap labor as possible to drive down wages.
Laura, I have so many companies coming into this country. You're not going to have to worry about it. It's always going to be a shortage. If somebody's smart sitting in this position, we have so many companies coming in from Japan. Japan's doing many car companies. China now is going to start building a lot of things here. They haven't been doing it too much. We have so many companies wanting to come in, and they don't have the labor, but they're coming in. We're doing great. Our country's doing great. Our economy's doing great.
What's hilarious is he keeps mentioning Japan, and Japan does not play the game of multiculturalism at all. And also he's suggesting, of course, there's smart people from other countries, but Trump's doing the ultimate liberal gaslighting of there's not enough smart Americans, only smart people are from other countries and we just can't find Americans to do it, as if, it's always we're just sending back 300 IQ people. It's that's not really what H1-B work visas are doing, and I think just like Trump, I could just show you again real quick. Literally, when Trump ran, he said, first of all, I think I know the H1-B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use it. We shouldn't have it, he said. Second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman. I have to do what I have to do. So he said it's very bad and unfair for U.S. workers. But then a couple of years later, he's just gaslighting Laura Ingram. And of course, she's not falling for it because she's not an idiot. Here's the craziest part of this stuff, folks. This is how, and I'll show you my video that I made about this, how they moved the Overton window. They don't care if Trump or Biden wins. They don't care if Hillary or Trump wins because they've already shifted the culture to the point where Trump is actually less America first and more liberal than Bernie Sanders was on H-1B visas, 10, 15 years ago. Here's a clip. Of course, Bernie Sanders isn't like this anymore, just like Trump isn't who he said he was going to be in 2016 on this topic. But listen to Bernie Sanders. It sounds like Donald Trump on steroids, and he actually put his foot down harder than Donald Trump and said, don't gaslight me with all this. We need the wages. I don't think so. It hurts the American wage. Can you believe that Bernie Sanders used to be this way? And can you believe that Donald Trump is now less America first than this version of Bernie Sanders, which is long gone because that doesn't exist? Take a watch and a listen to this clip. It's truly fascinating stuff, how they are shifting society to the point where everybody is no longer who they once were.
And that gets us to the immigration issue. If poverty is increasing and if wages are going down, I don't know why we need millions of people to be coming into this country as guest workers who will work for lower wages than American workers and drive wages down even lower than they are right now.
And as we know, the principal industries which hire the bulk of illegal aliens, that is construction, landscaping,
Lou, I just heard something.
Those are all industries in which wages are declining. I don't hear that discussed on the Senate floor by the proponents of this amnesty legislation.
That's right. They have no good response. I just read something today that a lot of people coming into this country are coming in as lifeguards. I guess we can't find, that's right, we can't find American workers to work as lifeguards, and the H1-B program has teachers, elementary school teachers. Well, you know.
Yeah, and that H1-B program, we got to watch Senator Ted Kennedy sit there with the sole witness being one Bill Gates, the world's richest man, tell him he wanted unlimited H1-B visas, obviously uninformed as to the fact that 7 out of 10 visas under the H1-B program go to Indian corporations that are outsourcing those positions to American corporations in this country, and that 4 out of 5 of those jobs that are supposed to be high-skilled jobs are actually Category 1 jobs, which is low-skilled.
Well, you raise a good point, and that this whole immigration guest worker concept is the other side of the trade issue. On one hand, you have large multinationals trying to shut down plants in America, move to China, and on the other hand, you have the service industry bringing in low-wage workers from abroad. The result is the same. Middle class gets shrunken and wages go down.
Senator Bernie Sanders, we thank you for being with us as always.
Isn't that fascinating? Lou Dobbs used to work at CNN and give journalistic interviews to Bernie Sanders, who used to be against H-1B visas like Trump was in 2016 until he got in office. And then he's further left than Bernie Sanders. And now Bernie Sanders is further left than he used to be. Isn't it almost like it's some weird theater that they're just playing a weird game with us? Interestingly enough, before I even heard about this H-1B visa thing, and this fits perfectly into my show today, I actually made this video before the whole H-1B visa controversy between the All In podcast and Trump and people's response to it. This is what I put out yesterday before I saw that, which fits, like, it's identical to the message I'm trying to tell people.
We need high-skilled workers.
All right, well, never mind. That's not the right video. Let's try again. Have you noticed that the Democratic Party seems a lot crazier and less reasonable than they used to seem 20 years ago? This is why a lot of people think that education and media is even more important than politics, because without people knowing, they shift society in a certain direction, and then the political parties follow order. So they'll convince you the only way to fix politics is to run circles around this puppet or this actor or this comedian. But in reality, those games are preventing people from realizing how far the Overton window is moving. Do you see what I'm saying? By the time people look up from the political narrative that they've been running around for a decade, the entire system of the left and right paradigm has moved to a certain point where now, even if the outsider and the populist gets an office that everybody thinks is going to change the system, it ends up in some sort of catastrophe like a lockdown and pharmaceutical socialism. And while those who revolve their entire life around politics instead of the concept I'm sharing today will tell you that that was just a mistake or we're going to fix it next time. What if that was the exact mindset they wanted you to have, so you never realized that that wasn't a bug of the system, it was its actual design? Let me know what you think. I appreciate you for considering this video. Have a beautiful day. Appreciate it. So I made that video yesterday before I even thought about this video, and it fits perfectly because that's kind of the truth. It's not popular. It's not like you know, maybe as catchy as some of the other things I've done, but I've come to the conclusion that they shift society through education, media, music, you know, everything. And then the left goes further left. Trump turns into a further left version of Bernie Sanders 7 years ago, and nobody realizes. They're like, well, we got to fight the other side. But the two sides, you know, call it two wings of the same bird or the uniparty, they're flying in the same direction. Like that. So now the bird of the two wings is here, and it used to be here. So like 20 years ago, Bernie Sanders made more sense than Donald Trump did a year ago. Like, and I'm not saying Bernie Sanders makes sense now, but it's like the whole game has shifted. Like Chuck Schumer used to talk about border security. Obama used to be against gay marriage. 10 years later, the conservative Christian guy is waving a gay flag, and then like, I don't know what you believe or what you care about, but that just shows you that they control the game and they control the ideas, like the acceptable, I would say, societal interpretation of what is and what isn't, what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable and what's not. So then it gets to the point where you think they care who wins the election, but they've already won the election because they've already shifted both sides of politics in the direction that they want it to go. And if you really figure out, like if you haven't watching my show at this point, figured out how politics really works, there's a certain foreign country and a certain foreign policy that's above all. And the truth is, I don't care what foreign country you do or don't support, but at the end of the day, in order to be the president of America, you need to be loyal to a country, and that country is not America. Trump and Biden both have allegiance to a certain country, and it's not America. You don't have to be loyal to America to win in the president of America. So it should tell you like what's really going on here. But most people can't seem to figure it out. So there's a lot of different games being played. I wanted to do this presentation to show you that Trump ran against H1-B visas. He said as a businessman, he knows it's a scam for the American worker. It's a loophole and it's not good for Americans. A couple years later, he's arguing with Laura Ingram, sounding like a left winger. Now he's on All In podcast trying to give a green card to anybody who finishes college. Here's what I'd say. I know a lot of good people that want a green card, like from all over the world. I have friends that don't have a green card and want one. Like, I'm all for giving good people a green card, but even as a nice person myself, you're going to give it to any person who finishes 2 years of any college. Like, it just seems like a little bit a lot, like, I don't know, like, why not give it to certain people? Like, you're just going to hand it out to all that people they could just finish a 2-year community college from anywhere in the world, and then you're just going to give them a green card just because they finished college. What does that say to people that don't go to college, entrepreneurs, people that go to Votech school, or they want to be like a mechanic? Like, now what if someone comes from a foreign country and goes to 2 years of they get a liberal arts degree, like, and he always talks about all these schools, he's like MIT, this and that. It's like most of these schools hate Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like the Ivy League schools and the schools that are like so prestigious that we grew up thinking were so awesome, like 80 to 90% of the students, they hate Donald Trump. They hate conservatives. They're super liberal. So that's, someone said, "You're so annoying, dude." Denise, imagine wasting your Friday listening to someone who you thought was annoying. Don't talk to me unless you're going to super chat. Denise said, "I quit listening to you a while back, but I thought I'd pop in here because the headline, but you're annoying." Are you annoyed by the subject matter because you're too dumb to understand it? You're like, what bothers you? Let me know. Now that you just ruined the whole show real quick for everybody. What part of this bothered you, Denise? Is your IQ 4 or something? And you're like, "I don't like to know what's going on. I just like to cheer for my sports team and be wrong all the time. That makes me feel good." And then you're like, "Oh, I pooped my pants." It's like, cool. That sounds like a good Friday for Denise over there. Poopy pants, Denise. Low IQ caveman. Anyway, where were we? The H1-B visas and stuff. Let me know what you think. This is going to be really key moving forward. I would say this, and then maybe I'll stay for like 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to take off, try to keep this short and digestible. If Trump wins the election, if you like Trump, if he wins the election, if you vote for him, there's going to be a lot of nonsense, and you got to pay attention as a patriot, as MAGA, or whatever you want to call yourself, because I'll just say this from somebody that studies what's going on. I think Trump is going to be even more controllable this time. Like, he's taken more donor money. He's more subservient to the establishment than he ever has been. He's like surrounds himself by people like Lindsey Graham. He takes $100 million donations from people who want him to do stuff for a foreign country. And Trump thinks a foreign country should literally own Congress. Like, he said that multiple times. So this idea of like, I'm going to vote for Trump and he's just going to fix America, like it's make believe. And I would even say this, like, I get that Trump is better than Biden, but if you're like a conservative that's 40 or 50 or even 60 or 20, I don't really care. And you're like, we need to fix America. Like, imagine thinking the only way to fix America is by voting for an 80-year-old dude. Like, you guys make fun of Biden all the time because he's super old and he needs to take a sideline. Trump is almost 80 years old. Like, eventually Trump is going to be like that because you can't just function properly for into your like hundreds. I'm not saying Trump isn't impressive. He absolutely is, especially for his age. But it's like, that's how, in my opinion, no offense, pathetic the conservative movement is. Nobody wants to think. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to like really know what's going on. They just want to put on their little poopy pants hat and scream MAGA and think that one guy is going to fix all their problems, even though he's 80 years old. And it's kind of insane for any group of people to elect an 80-year-old as their leader. Like, that's kind of weird. But in general, he could be like a quarterback or like an announcer or like a war room, you know, like top dog. In my view, that would have been smarter. But now he's the guy there. Okay, you know, hopefully he wins. But when he does, he's going to be selling America out. He's going to be selling America out to foreign countries, the one that he pretty much works for. He's going to be green-lighting immigration like a liberal. He's already talking about it. You know, like, you got to pay attention whether he wins or not, especially if he does. Pay attention and understand like this dream of, you know, like he's going to fix all my problems because I want him to. Like, that dream is going to die, and it needs to die because that's the reality of America. America's not going to be solved by one 80-year-old who takes hundreds of millions of dollars of donor money to sell America out to a foreign country. Like, why would an 80-year-old who says a foreign country should own Congress be the savior of America? It makes like literally no sense. So, you know, whenever that, thank you, Brian Schwartz, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Once he wins, like, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff that goes on. And I'll just say this. He's not getting tricked. He's not getting fooled. He's not dumb. He's not 5 years old. He's not a doofus. He's a sellout. He takes donor money just like Obama, just like Romney, just like Biden. And when he takes the donor money, he does what the donors want. If corporations want a bunch of cheap labor, they pay off Trump. And he goes from saying, I know H1-B visas are bad for Americans, to saying, wait, no, now they're good for America because we get smart people from Japan. Like, Trump doesn't actually think that. He ran on the opposite premise. Just like every other politician, he's a sellout. He's a liar. He's good at acting. He could tell you both sides of the story and convince you. That's what a good con artist can do. They could look at you and say, H1-B visas are really bad for the American worker. Trust me, I know. I use them. They're not good for American. It's a loophole. Frankly, no business should be using it, but we have to. And then 2 years later, take money, millions and tens of millions of dollars from corporations that want cheap labor from foreign countries to replace you. And then Trump will say, you know, actually, we're getting the smartest people from all over the world, and it's just really, really smart foreigners to replace stupid Americans who are not smart enough to work for these tech companies who also hate me. And, you know, like, he's just good at being a politician. Trump's like the best because he's so believable. Biden's not believable. Romney's no longer believable. Once a politician stops being believable, that they're pretty much done. Or they become like a Nancy Pelosi and a Chuck Schumer, who for some reason they just never stop, and no one seems to like them, but they just keep getting elected. But yeah, it's like, when he turns his back on you, which he will if he wins, stop making excuses for it. That's the only solution. You can't act dumb and be like, maybe, even with the whole COVID stuff, I don't even want to get into it because I know people are sick of it, but like 99%, I can't even find 5 other influencers, probably like, if you gave me 1,000 conservative influencers, like 999 of them will all say the same thing. None of them want to look at the truth. They don't want to say Trump sold out. They want to be like, he got tricked because I wish he was who I thought I was. And it's like, okay. And I wish I had $5 million that just like appeared on my lap, so then I would take the weekend off. You know, like, sure, we all wish things, but like, why be a truther and pay attention to politics if you're just going to hallucinate what you wish was happening? Like, that's not what Trump did. The reason all the COVID, like, still to this day, people will go to me. They're like, you know, Trump still won't admit he was wrong about some of the COVID stuff. And I'm like, listen, he wasn't wrong because in your head, you think he wants to do what you want him to do. In reality, he's working for the other side. He's working for the pharmaceutical industry. He's taking meetings with Bill Gates. Like, he's working for them. He's not apologizing because he's not sorry. He doesn't think he was wrong because he's not working for you. You know, like, and no one wants to tell you that. Everybody just wants to tell you like he got fooled, he got tricked. It's like this giant cosplay theater, and it's all starting to break down. And every week now I see more and more people start to figure out the obvious. Like, they're like, oh man, this isn't 2016 Trump. Neither was 2019 or 2020 Trump. Like that interview of Laura Ingram that I showed, that's from 2020. Who do you know that showed you that? It was on Twitter a little bit. I always show people this stuff. So we're always 4 or 5 years ahead of the schedule, because instead of closing our eyes and being like, we don't want to see it, let's just hallucinate what we wish he was doing. We tell the truth. And we're like, listen, we're not digging into who Donald Trump banged in a bathroom 50 years ago. I'm not that type of reporter. Like, I'm not a weirdo. And they're probably lying most of the time about Trump anyway, but I'm just like, it's like he's taking donor money. He's selling America out to corporations and big pharma. I'm not a bad guy. It's not like I'm digging into Trump's personal stuff. All this stuff is public. It's all open source. Like if I ran, I would have to show you who I was taking money from, which is a good thing. This is what I want to say about America. America, there's problems with it. First Amendment's awesome. Second Amendment's awesome. Like the fact that politicians have to show you where they're taking donor money from, that's all great. Like I don't know if it was the founding fathers or somebody after that who gave us this country that's like not totally messed up. And they're like, here, we're going to show you, because in some countries, you can't even see who's funding who. They're just doing it behind your back and you think they're on your side, but they're getting funded. America shows you all this stuff. It's like, here, Trump took $1 million from Pfizer and then immediately hired a pharmaceutical lobbyist to run the government. It's like, oh, it's right there. It's like and then everyone else is like, I don't want to see it because I like Trump and I don't like Biden. Okay, so just squander the opportunity we have in America to know who's funding our politicians and lie to everybody about it for 4 years. And then in 2025, everyone's going to sound like Anomaly. And it's like, they'll be like, oh man, we just figured this. It was obvious 5 years ago. Just nobody wanted to look at it. Someone said, did some liberal donate